reacted to lots of people have reacted to it, and I want to react to it. People say it's the best video of the year for Geometry Dash. So yeah, if you hear anyone in the background, that's my sister. There's weird as heck. There's probably going to be weird as heck random adverts, but whatever.
You click to switch gravity.
I'm going to restart this because I don't know why.
You click to switch gravity. Insane level.
Okay. Yes. Already good intro.
Geometry Dash is a very simple game. At its core, you are a cube. Click and you jump. The objective is to get to the end of a level, but there's a catch. If you touch a single triangle or hit the floor wrong, you have to start over. You have to go from nothing, make sure you dodge all the spikes and click everything perfectly, manage your nerves as you near the end, and finish the level. And when you finally do, you get a feeling of such incredible happiness that is so unique to this game.
But how do we get to that point? There's many different skills.
But how do we get to that point? There's many different skills that you need to have besides just timing in order to beat certain levels in the game that might not be very obvious to the unfamiliar eye. So just how hard is it, and how hard does it get?
This is great editing. This is amazing editing. All verifications, no bad deaths, no celebrations in one. And then it transitions into stereo madness. That's crazy.
RobTop, the sole developer of this game, created these faces to represent difficulty in Geometry Dash. These difficulties range from easy to insane. Easy levels typically only have 1 or 2 game modes in the entire level and act as a starting point for new players. You might see the cube game mode, where, of course, you click to jump, or maybe the ball game mode, where you click to switch gravity.
But like, let's say 500 could be like a nomination, like 700
may have a larger mix of harder game modes, such as the wave or the ship game mode, as well as other elements such as orbs and portals that all change the fundamental gameplay in some way. Now, you'd think you'd be able to point to the one on the end here and say,
look, this is the hardest difficulty in the game.
Wrong!
Like when the game first released. But as the community
This is what the scale looked like when the game first released. But as the community grew better at the game, RobTop had to create a new difficulty icon. And just like that, the demon difficulty...
Look, there's the hardest difficulty, right there.
Oh my god, okay? Chill. We're not there yet, but we'll get there. We're not there yet, okay? Stop talking. This is not the hardest difficulty. In a following update, RobTop had to add even more difficulty faces. He added the demon difficulty subcategories, ranging from easy to extreme demon.
Right there. Oh my god, this video's playlist. That there was the hardest difficulty. Oh my god.
Shut him off. You just shut him off.
Now, in terms of the average player, you might be able to beat an easy or maybe a medium demon in a couple of hours. The hardest levels in the base game, the demon ones, are these three, and are often some of the very first demons that players ever beat. Now, it's worth noting that even though they do have the icon of a hard demon, in reality these are considered easy demons. Jinxie, a very popular streamer who has never touched the game before, was able to beat his first easy demon in a little over 120 hours of playtime, which he then proceeded to violate his tens of thousands of viewers live on Twitch and YouTube. This is usually where an average player would lay in terms of maximum skill. Demons in general are known for their abnormal difficulty, requiring you to memorize where to go and when to click some very tight timings. You're also forced to adapt to gravity changes, understand the physics of the hardest game modes, and commit all of these elements to muscle memory. Eventually, through enough playtime, you'll be able to adapt to these gameplay factors that you
My god, my sister's opening the door. Sorry about that.
knew nothing about. Each step in this staircase of difficulties is small, but it's enough to make the player feel good about themselves after taking one.
Laptop ain't working. So yeah, I can't really
Maybe you
edit
learned how to
out
play a
the
certain game
background
mode.
noise, so
Maybe you
I'm
found the
fucked.
best way to learn levels
YouTube
fast.
don't give me
Or maybe
copyright
you
if
learned
you hear
where to
any
look on the
songs
screen for the most
the
precise and
background.
accurate clicks. Every single step
I'll
here
link the
teaches
video.
you something, and that's what makes this game feel so good and so
I'll tell you
addicting
the
to
video
play.
at the end.
Thinking to yourself like, yeah, I understand it now. Watch me beat it this attempt. The things you learn get harder and harder, but the accomplishments feel better and better. But the one thing I want to focus on today is here. At the very top of the steps lays the Extreme Demon. This difficulty here, it can't be put into words how hard beating an Extreme Demon is. There are so many little factors, so many different little things that you need to know to even begin to play the easiest levels at this difficulty. Things that you might not realize you needed to know, which we're gonna go over in a minute. And yes, while Extreme Demon is the hardest difficulty of level that is currently in the game, there are many different levels with this title, and they're not all equally hard. They really are not all equally hard. To put into perspective this difference, the difficulty gap between Stereo Madness and AQ, which is one of the easiest Extreme Demons in the game, that gap there is smaller than the gap between AQ and the hardest Extreme Demon in the game. Realistically, RobTop needs to continue adding more unique difficulties beyond Extreme Demon, but that's hard to sustain due to the human limit always being pushed. The community has tried to make their own difficulty icons before, but
what the fuck?
We can make it straight bolts, bro.
What? There's just like 20 of the same one that just have like a slightly darker shade of red.
Auto
I don't know what
Demon.
we're thinking about these. What is
Auto
that?
Demon.
Auto Demon? What the fuck does that even mean? yeah, that one. Kill that
Oh
one.
no, what
This
is going on?
actually.
What are these difficulties?
So in order to truly rank every single Extreme Demon in order of difficulty, the community came together to create this, a comprehensive list ranking every Extreme Demon in order of how hard they are. And the very easiest Extreme Demon, which we're going to start off with today, is this.
Based off what?
I'm gonna turn myself from an audio visualizer. If you saw my last video, you recognize this. But I'm gonna turn myself from this into a Geometry Dash icon, because that's what everyone seems to be doing nowadays. Okay, you can come on up. No.
It's better. Now, without touching into
It's better. Now, without touching into every difficult level in the game, because, you know, that would take forever, let's start with the very bottom of RDL to sort of establish a basic knowledge of extremes with a level called Red World. Now, if we look at the factors that make this level an extreme, it's long, has choke points, and introduces a never-before-seen custom game mode. Whoa, that looks difficult. It appears to be using the ball game mode to switch gravity in a smooth motion, as if it's swinging. This level starts off extremely easily. Well, easy for an Extreme Demon. With some relatively simple ship and ball gameplay. This gameplay alone would be about 6, 7, maybe even an 8-star difficulty. You move on to some triple spikes. Still not that difficult. These triple spikes are seen in even some of the easiest levels in the game. Then you move past into what seems to be the most insufferable choke point of the entire level, and then end off with another choke point. And then another.
But in the comments,
While
if
this
it's
is the
too
easiest
quiet,
Extreme Demon, these choke points
just
of
put it in
pointless
the
garbage make it
comments and I
extremely
will,
unfun to play.
for my next
Usually, in a
reaction, if I
normal
ever
level,
do
these
one
things
again,
would go through
make it
playtesting,
louder.
so that the level creator can balance out all the difficulty spikes to make the level more enjoyable. However, this level was so hard that it was uploaded to the servers with a hacked verification as an impossible level. Okay, I'm ranting. That's the history lesson behind Red World. This level has some pretty difficult timings, but it's not intense. It's mainly carried by its hard clicks, none of which are frame perfect clicks, but we'll get into that soon, as well as its tight ship gameplay and swing copter choke points. That's all this level really has going for it. Red World, while still being very, very difficult, has absolutely nothing on what we're going to talk about here in a minute, and barely even scratches the surface of the difficulty of Geometry Dash levels. Speaking of which, what's next on our list? Let's do an activity. You're going to help me make a really mediocre transition into what we're going to talk about next. Think back to a happy moment of your life. A fun hangout with your friends. Maybe a first kiss. Maybe installing Geometry Dash for the first time. Maybe uninstalling Geometry Dash for the first time. What you just accessed in your mind is called a memory. Geometry Dash has found a way to take these things and put them into levels. Memory demons are a genre of level that you cannot sight read. They require you to memorize when to click, usually through trial and error. Looking back at Red World, we could see when to jump. It's more or less readable, like these triple spikes here that you need to jump over or this god-awful swing copter. You have a visual path here to go along, and the limits of this path are more or less obvious. Memory levels are where those concepts go to die. Depending on how memory-based a memory level is, you are forced to build muscle memory on where to click based on very little visual or auditory cues, if any. Take a look at this segment here. This is a level called Unleash Whale
We don't
Whales.
know.
Tell me which block you should go onto next. This is a very important decision. If you get this wrong, you have to restart. These stakes are very high. Oh, you don't know? Well, this is just one jump. If you want to attempt beating this, you have to memorize the right paths for hundreds of these jumps.
Oh
for a little
my
under 2 minutes.
god.
This is the entire level. And you want to know the best part?
What?
This doesn't even break the top 1,000 hardest levels in the game. These memory levels come in many different shapes and forms.
1,321.
For example,
Oh
this
my
is
God,
Super
that's
Probability
crazy.
level, where you have to memorize where the real borders are because all the ones you see here are fake.
You may think to yourself, oh, this man is
Here's another one. You may think to yourself, oh, this man is simply floating. No, he's hitting jump orbs, dodging spikes, and constantly switching game modes in a completely invisible level
wanna know something crazy?
for 5 minutes.
Even break the top 7.
And you want to know something crazy?
No, it
This
should
doesn't
break
even
the top.
break the top
That's just like
750.
top 500.
It's okay though. It's mainly clicking to the beat of this nice song and enjoying these cute birds flying around. You know, how hard could an invisible level possibly get?
Why is he getting a call?
Sorry. Hello? Of Ambrosia? Of Ambrosia. Give me a second. Yeah, what's that? Okay, give me a second. I'm looking this up right now.
How are you supposed to know where to go? Anymore, man. I'm done.
Okay, chill. It cannot be that hard. Let's take a peek under the curtain to see what the layout actually looks like. Okay, now usually this level of gameplay is probably about hard or maybe insane demon level, but it's difficult to judge a skeleton when it's covered by all that flesh and
Yeah,
blood.
literally just
In
a
other words,
heartbeat
it's much
of
harder than you
lines
think when a
and
level
a
is
flashing
completely
screen.
invisible.
With your
So,
key just
yeah, we're
click
gonna put
with
that
your
right back.
leg. What lost? Okay, we're getting far. 44, 45. This is the extension. Oh, a YouTuber called Compix. Is that a YouTuber called Compix? Shout out to Compix. I recommended a comment doing a test for the game modes to see which ones could get through this corridor part. He actually listened. W Compix. The W Compix, bro. Oh my god. I would hate to. Oh my god. That reminds me of when I died to 92 on.
Agony. Looping all the way back to the start. Anger in knowing that you had that, and yet the only person you could blame is yourself. You died at the end of a level because you couldn't manage your nerves. Who knows how long it'll take for you to get
I
back to
actually
that
quit
point
Geometry
again.
Dash
Now you
like
have to learn nerve
directly after
control.
that.
There's many levels that exploit
Because
this
I've
particular
got
skill,
another
but it's most
account.
commonly seen in long levels.
Yeah,
and
that's
if it's an
right.
extreme demon
That
you're playing,
remembers.
it makes
That
it
made
even
me
harder
remember
to
the
control
time
your
where
nerves near the
I
end
did
of the
a
level.
90%
The
on
Geometry Dash
Sonic
community,
Wave.
specifically content creators,
Or
have actually
91
used this factor as a way to create more immersion
with
and
one
entertainment
death
in their content.
To the,
By buying a
to
heart
that
rate sensor
stupid
or something else that could
clip.
record heart rate and setting it up on your recording software, you
Oh,
can see in
shoot.
real time when the player locks in and needs to control
I
the
thought
nerves.
this was a
The
Geometry Dash
highest
video.
recorded heart rate in
Flag it
the
for
Geometry Dash
clickbait.
community
Flag
at the
this
time I'm
video
saying
for
this is
clickbait.
229 beats per minute, which, you know, I had my suspicions. It's actually not healthy at all.
Oh
Even
my.
during exercise, it's well over what's considered
Whoa,
dangerous.
whoa, whoa.
Without
180
proper
should be
nerve control,
considered
high heart rate
dangerous
like this can actually put your life at risk.
200 's
and more
not
importantly,
minimum
it makes levels harder
exercise
and can
for
ruin a
danger.
deep run. Geometry Dash levels are most commonly long length, which is anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes long. But anything past 2 minutes is an XL level, and this is where nerve control becomes a little more
Imagine
important.
that, but it's top one.
Light travel is one of these levels. Considered a true test of endurance and nerve control, this yellow level is 9 minutes of gameplay, with choke points, with the last part being some really tight wave gameplay. You want something harder? Here's one, which is just named Death. It's 9.5 minutes long. The most
55
egregious of
minutes.
examples is Eon. This level is around the 800th hardest in the game at the time I'm saying this. Now, knowing that, I want you to guess how long
None
this
of them
level
is
is.
55.
Whoa, you're right on the money. It's 55 minutes
Whoa!
long.
you're right on the money. It's 55 minutes long. That's only
stupid.
1% of progress every 33 seconds.
Real quick, it's me editing this. I know 33 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but keep in mind, most of your attention spans are less than 30 seconds. Come on. Like, when's the last time you sat through a full-length ad, okay? Like, while you were brushing your teeth, maybe you set your phone down to stand up to wipe your ass. That doesn't count. Imagine sitting through 110 ads. And speaking of ads, half of you probably just got an ad right now because I placed one right here. Or I'm going to place one right here. I'm not done editing this yet, but yeah, 30 seconds is a long time.
Bro,
Sure, the gameplay is like boring and
you
easy,
get to
but
place
it spikes in
ads.
difficulty during the last 12%, and most of the challenge is in the length itself. There's harder, super long levels in the game, but don't worry, we'll get to those later, so calm down. But this is why nerve control is such an important factor in a level's difficulty.
Yeah.
Imagine spending thousands of attempts on a single level, listening to the same
Unless
song
you devote
over
your
and
life
over,
to like Geometry
putting in
Dash
hours and hours trying to beat
at least
it.
like
You
70% of
finally
your
get
gaming
past that
life
one
to Geometry
extremely
Dash,
hard part in the level,
you are
and you
cooked.
physically
You
start
will not
feeling
be
your
able to
heart
be in
pounding in your chest. You know that it could take days, even weeks to get another shot at this. The sweat forming between your hand and a single button is causing you to lose grip. You can suddenly feel the clothes resting on your body, the placement of your other hand on your desk, and the more you think about these things, the more focus you lose. It's getting harder to see the things on your screen properly, and you notice the delay between your clicks, and...
Oh my god, there we go, there's Nexus. There's Nexus 95.
agony. Looping all the way back to
This isn't, no bro. This editing is rapidly great. It's like,
We're going to start ramping
bro, this
it
is
up
like
here.
pinnacle.
The one
bro.
thing you could expect from a Geometry Dash level
Rob
is
Top or any
consistency.
moderators, if you're watching
the
this,
same gameplay
this is
every
an
run.
automatic
It's how you practice.
contribution
But there are
to
some
the-
levels where that's not the case.
to the flipping
Random elements are by
nominees for
far
the
one of
best
the
video.
most difficult factors in a level.
You can't
It takes
say
the linear
it's-
element of
this is
Geometry Dash, the
just
start and the end, and adds a whole other layer of
I
complication
believe
to
this
it.
person
Instead of
doesn't
learning
even
a
have,
singular
like,
path, you have to
100K
prepare yourself
subscribers.
for all of the possibilities.
Let me check.
RDL actually has a
Actually,
collection
let me
of
check,
categorized packs of levels
It
that
has
have random elements in
45k
them.
subscribers, 570,000 views on the video,
Based on difficulty.
and it was 3 weeks
Killing
ago.
based on difficulty. Dark Odyssey is an extreme demon in the
TS2
lowest
was
difficulty
not
randomizer
top
pack
one
with
3
one
weeks
random
ago.
segment. This. Right here during this wave, you have to look down here mid-gameplay and read these 3 arrows, and then punch in the code a little later to pass. Now this is a very small instance of randomness in a level that I felt was worth mentioning. But what if it's more than just this small section? Here comes Fog, an already difficult extreme demon with low visibility, rapid gameplay, and super precise inputs. This level is stupid hard, constantly switching between the hardest game modes with really tight choke points. At 90%, right at the peak of your nerves, 1 of 5 random symbols will flash on your screen, each one corresponding to their own unique, completely invisible path that you have to take. What most people do is they try to learn it on the spot by reading the pattern here by just pausing the game.
Yeah, I think I get it now. Okay.
King Samuel.
You gotta get Gus. Wait, you gotta figure this out. Wait, oh my gosh, you're gonna win. Wait, you beat it. Oh my god.
Yeah, King Samuel.
But okay, if Fog is in Randomizer Pack 4, what could possibly be harder than that?
Oh yeah, I
The
hate
Art of the Blade. This is
Screw
where it
that.
starts to get
Screw
a little
that.
ridiculous. While you play this already hard memory demon,
Sounds
even
upset.
harder than Fog, you have to pay very close attention to 3 different pieces of decoration within the level. The 3 elements are the color of this shrine gate, the color of this tiny square that's barely even on the screen, and the color of this arrow. Each element has 4 possible colors, giving you a total of 64 different combinations. Okay, why do you need to know this? Well, at 63%, right as we get the last element that we need, you're faced with 16 columns of dark spots, and each of the 64 combinations is a code that you have to input by touching specific spots. Mind you, you have to spam as hard as you can as to not hit the wrong spot. So, what people usually resort to doing is recording their gameplay, looking at all of the different elements, taking each element and putting them into a custom program until you get a code, then resume the game trying to input the correct
That's
code.
why
And that's
I
the
don't
easiest of the 3 in this
play,
randomizer pack.
I never want to play Art of the Blade. Oh, I love Coalescence. This song is so
Coalescence is a top 100 level. The entire thing is 4 times speed, forcing you to play some of the hardest gameplay at speeds that you can't even really process. However, the ending is very similar to Fog, except instead of 1 pattern that's played out, you are randomly shown 5 of 9 possible symbols, as well as their gameplay. Mind you, to get to this point, you have to play top 100 worthy gameplay while paying attention to these patterns. Then, when you hit this dash orb, the level shuffles these patterns and does not show you the gameplay for each pattern. And you're on a dash orb. You can't pause and unpause the level like you can in Fog, or it kicks you off the orb and you die. Now, there's only a handful of people in the world that can actually play this gameplay at the end, but to memorize a code while doing it, Amplitron, the creator and verifier of this level, practiced for the ending by creating a custom program to learn each of the patterns.
Yeah, Amplitron.
While this level is within some of the hardest ever in the game, there are two more extremely noteworthy levels that have random elements in them that I'm going to talk about here very shortly that are somehow even harder than this. These levels have much more significant elements of randomness in them, but they're on a whole different tier of difficulty that we'll get into right now. First, we have to understand some terminology. What is a frame perfect? Geometry Dash's engine checks for a collision 240 times a second. This is the game's TPS, or ticks per second.
I thought it just stopped.
So I spent the last 3 days editing and making visuals for this upcoming explanation on what exactly a frame perfect is. And it's cool. It's 2 minutes of really high quality footage. It's 2 minutes. It's a lot of work. And right as I was getting more background footage, I thought to myself this doesn't match up with my script. So I plugged the entire thing into ChatGPT, and it turns out it's just wrong. And ChatGPT wasn't holding back. It was beating my ass like a drum. Really kicking me while I'm down.
It may be taking over the world, but
rubbing
we
it
need
in.
to stop it.
Dick. You see all this effort, all this beautiful work, these beautiful visuals. Trash. I'm pissed, but I can't really blame anyone other than myself. I used 2 sources of information. I used a Reddit post and a YouTube video. And the YouTube video, it turns out the YouTube video, I didn't realize, it's 5 years old and it's outdated. And the Reddit post is just wrong. This dude's just wrong. And I'm pissed. So just know, a really brief explanation to what a frame perfect actually is. The game checks for collisions and inputs at 240 times a second. If you click, you jump on the next tick. There's a setting that lets you click between ticks. It's called CBF, but it's only really used by the super duper good players and the super duper hard levels. Now a true frame perfect is a 1-tick window, essentially. Now the reason I confused myself is because the Geometry Dash community uses a mix of old terminology and new terminology to, explain timings, which I think is stupid. So just know when you hear a 60 FPS frame perfect, it's this long. Yeah, the flash on your screen, it's this long. That's it, about 16 milliseconds. 120 is 2 ticks, so 8.3. 240 is 1 tick, so 4 milliseconds. And any other smaller timing than that requires this setting. And mind you, a hummingbird flaps its wings 50 to 80 times a second, where every flap of a wing takes about 12 to 20 milliseconds. That's 3 times the window of timing you have to click a 240 frame perfect. Think about that for a second. That's how fast these players are clicking. Editing's hard. Please subscribe. Please. If you're confused, don't worry. It's a really hard concept to explain properly, so my bad. But just know, when talking in terms of timing, this is some of the absolute smallest, and they could be used to understand how precise you have to be in a level. Earlier in this video, I said that the skill gap between AQ and the hardest extreme demons is bigger than the stereo madness to a Q gap. It's because of frame perfects. You probably won't be able to find a single frame perfect click in any of these levels on the bottom half of RDL. That's how hard it gets. Now, with that being said, let's finally move on to some of the hardest levels in Geometry Dash.
1007, 1510. So where Red Bull stands,
Up to this point, we've discussed various difficult levels with their own gimmicks. Whether it be memory-based, fast-paced gameplay, or long levels, there's many aspects to a Geometry Dash level that make it hard. However, there are levels that push many of these at once to their absolute human limit. Starting off with one of the most popular levels ever, Limbo is a bright and vibrant memory demon. The entire level is either impossible to sight read or extremely hard to navigate. It's over 3 minutes long and has a whole 11 frame perfects according to this guy, and it's most famous for its randomized ending. Not only do you have to hit a 16 millisecond window 11 times throughout the course of 3 minutes, but you have to follow that up with playing this legendary ending. Near the end of the level, you will see a key glow green. You have to follow this key with your eyes, and yes, every movement and shuffle here is completely randomized. There is no possible way to prepare for this segment. And while you follow the right key with your eyes, you also have to simultaneously play the hardest game mode, clicking at a bare minimum of 6 times a second as to not die. And you can't click at a steady rate. You have to vary your click rate perfectly in order to avoid crashing into these mounds of spikes. And now you're here. You have to choose which key is the correct one, assuming you followed it correctly. Now, unlike Fog, you cannot pause here. This mechanism here grabs you, and if you let go for even a single frame, you die. Much like how the dash orb works in Coalescence. You have to let go when the key of your choosing glows in order to make your selection. If you pick wrong,
one attempt on every top one, not 100, top 75.
However, if you made it to the end, watched the keys shuffle, tracked it with your eyes, and chose the right key after all of that.
Zanny, bro. You remember Zanny? It's blue! It's blue! No, that's not.
So, let's check off the list of skills that you need to be one of the absolute best at in order to beat this level. Memory, check. Timing, check. Nerve control, super check. And most importantly, focus.
Is it still recording? Yeah, it is. Boobawamba.
Let's go up a little more.
I recognize this music. It's the best music ever. Best music
This is a level called Boobawamba. What you're seeing right now is footage of a frame-perfect counter for the level. This is absolute needlepoint gameplay that you're watching right now. Not only do you have to land 35 frame perfect, but it consists of some of the hardest gameplay of the hardest game modes in the game. So what makes this level harder than Limbo? Well, this level also has random decorations just like the Art of the Blade. Specifically, 5 of them. Now, there is something I'm not telling you. All of the footage you have seen of this level so far has just been gameplay. It's the layout for the level. I needed to show you this so you can get a grasp on how hard this is to play. This isn't what you see when you're playing the level. This is what you see. Boobawamba is currently the hardest memory level in the game. This level gives so little visuals while expecting you to hit frame-perfect jumps. As for the 5 decorations on the level, you have to keep track of these 5 elements that may or may not appear in the level as you play.
And then at the
Yes,
end,
they are
there's a
randomized at
trigger
every
thing
attempt.
you have to hit.
Then, at the very end, you have to remember which elements were present in your run, and jump through these frame-perfect gaps and hit a button mid-jump for each decoration that didn't appear. And if that wasn't enough, the order in which you input the decorations is also completely randomized, so you need to know which decoration corresponds to which number. The level of insanity you have to go through to even think of attempting this level is insane. You can see nothing, have to hit repeated frame-perfect jumps, keep an eye on which decorations are there or not there while you play, and manage your nerves as you input them at the end.
3 minutes long.
Albeit, it's not as long as
I can
Limbo,
vouch,
and yet
I
it is
can
placed
vouch.
in the
I've
top
done
10 hardest
I've
levels in
done
Geometry
like
Dash.
I've done like 70 to 100 maybe.
Speaking of length, there's another level that I want to talk about here.
No. The third hardest level has to be 7
Flame Wall
minutes.
is the
I
highest
think
test
because
of
of this,
endurance
it's
in
got
the
the
entire
upside
game.
down as well.
Not only does it have double
It's got
the
the
amount of
other
frame
than
perfects as in
PS2.
Boobawamba, these frame perfects are spread out across 7 minutes of extremely fast gameplay. According to the verifier, it took him over 20 months to verify this, and for good reason. This level is so intense for so long that Cuatrocientos literally had to take breaks to wipe the sweat off of his hands and keys. Compared to the slower-paced gameplay of Boobawamba, Flame Wall is always so much faster, forcing the player
like
to
when
harness
you're
excellent
very
nerve
like
control, hit insanely tight timings, maintain stamina, and resolve. And if it wasn't bad enough, at the very end of the level, there is a straight fly, where you have to perfectly balance the time your clicks are pressed down and lifted up, in order to fit through this extremely small gap at the end. The verifier died at 99% right here while trying to verify,
I did it twice.
which had to be devastating. Not once, by the way. He died there twice. But on September 21st, 2025, after getting an attempt 6 minutes in.
Oh my god, they should have got a volume warning. That's so loud.
This is a good demonstration of how important nerve control can be in this game. Flame Wall is currently the second hardest level in the entire game, right under a level called Thinking Space 2. Now, compared to the other levels that we covered today, Thinking Space 2 is actually one of the shortest ones. Really, this level has no gimmick at all. It has a relatively clear path, shows its limits well, so where does the difficulty come from? Pure skill. This level is all rapid timings, and it is the current human limit. These clicks are so rapid that there's even a part right here where you have to have a second input to click fast enough to avoid dying. So, how many frame perfects does Thinking Space 2 have? It's gotta be way more than Bubawamba, Flame Wall, and all these insanely difficult levels,
tied away from
right?
that, but it has harder types of frame perfects.
This level has some of the hardest timings ever in Geometry.
Yeah,
This level
see, it
has some of
20
the
under
hardest
20
timings ever in Geometry Dash. I can't really explain how hard this is. To put into perspective just how hard you have to play, I was looking through YouTube and I found this video. What you are watching right now is the verifier and the first victor of Thinking Space 2 with their winning runs on top of each other. You can't even tell that there's two sets of gameplay here. It is that precise.
No.
This is the current human limit of
Society.
Geometry Dash.
Yes.
But what if I told you it can get even harder? But what if I told you it can get even harder? As you may know, in order for a level to show up on RDL, it has to be verified, which means it needs to have been beaten at least once to confirm that it can be humanly done. Every day, there are people trying to verify the next hardest level, and at the time I'm saying this, the biggest race in Geometry Dash's history for the top 1 spot is happening right now. Levels like Grief, Heliopolis, Angelicide, Cosmos Unleashed, Society, and so many more are having hundreds of thousands of attempts poured into them to take that top spot first, with many of them being extremely close to being verified. These levels have hundreds of frame perfects, timings tighter than anything in the top 10, and gameplay so hard that if any of these were to be verified, they would be placed above Thinking Space 2 in a heartbeat. Many of these verifications are being live streamed, with tens of thousands of people waiting eagerly at the chance to see the next hardest thing be beaten right in front of their eyes. Every step that's made, every new best, gains thousands, even millions of views. This goes to show just how excited the community is to watch these incredible players do incredible things.
Hey. I was at a party and
New top 1 just randomly got verified.
Pop-Off just verified GD's
W
top
Pop-Off has officially won the top 1 race.
W Pop-Off just verified Society.
Turns out Society just got verified.
Look at this nonchalant reaction. No way!
No way!
But like,
I'm a menace to society. Oh my god.
how does W pop off and not like react like that? How does he know? How is he able to withstand this?
The players that stand at the top single-handedly redefine the human limit. Things that were once a struggle to new players is now muscle memory through thousands of hours of practice. A common misconception is that Geometry Dash is a rhythm game, but at a certain point, it turns into something else. It becomes a test of spirit. So, to answer the question of how hard is Geometry Dash, it is as hard as humanly possible.
That's good enough.
My goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know it's a bit far-fetched, but I would deeply appreciate it if you subscribed. Thank you.
That is the end. Goodbye. Like and subscribe. Hope you like that reaction. That was a great video. Please put that as the best. That is amazing. That editing is amazing. So yeah. See ya. Bye.